Hi, Brenton here. Welcome to Effortless Swimming. In this video, we're looking at a friend of mine, Susan, and we're looking at, all right, where can we find some extra speed? So she said at the moment she's hit a bit of a plateau in her speed. So we're going to look at what technical things she can do and what changes she can make to her stroke that's going to help her get to that next level. So you can see here from the side that her body position is excellent. Her head, her hips, her heels, all at the surface. All right, looking really good. See with her head position, looking at a combination of almost straight down to out in front there. And yeah, probably not much I'd look to change. A lot of being a triathlete, most people aren't going to look too far down. Looking a few meters in front can often be ideal. You can see where she is there. That's probably about right. One of the things you'll notice as well is I really like the fairly straight line through the back and the spine. So this line through here, we want to try and keep relatively straight. We don't want too much of a curve or an arch through that lower back, because if that's the case, then it's hard to have much connection through the core. So what we want to try and do is just keep good posture, fairly straight and long through the neck and the spine, and have that relatively straight, like you can see through there. That's good. The two things that stand out to me the most here, and we'll just have a look at this front view as well, the biggest changes are going to come from, the biggest focus areas are going to be what the arms are doing in the entry, extension, and with the catch and pull through. So you can see here let's look at the entry to start with. Nice on the entry, fingers first, which is good. Coming through, extending forward, and this position here is almost exactly where we want it. At the moment though, the forearm, the hand, the fingertips, just a little bit flat. You can see this, how out in front there, that's completely flat. What I'd look to do, at least on this right side, is to reach and extend a little bit further with that arm in order to get to this position here where the fingertips are just below the wrist is just below the elbow. So somewhere in that position, and you can see it's such a minor change, but it actually makes a big difference to the next part of the stroke. It makes it a lot easier to have a good catch if you start in that fingers below wrist below elbow position. Let's just have a look at the left one. Bring it back here. All right, on this left side on the breathing stroke. So enters the water, coming through. You can see there that starting catch position. Similar thing, fingertips just up a little bit high and that elbow sitting low. What we want to try and do, reach out a little bit more in order to just get on top of it slightly, get to a bit more like that position. Now, one of the best ways to get a feel for that is to just practice that position out of the water. So where you are now, what I'd look to do is just put your arm out in front like you would when you were reaching forward there. And just notice where you are. Notice if your fingertips are coming up. Then I just want you to make the adjustment with the arm to be able to have that really slight downwards angle. And as I said, it's a minor change, but it makes such a difference to that next part of the stroke. So if you can finish out in front there, that's going to make it a lot easier to have a really good catch. So looking at the next part of the stroke, all right, so let's say we make that change. From there to there, you can actually see that right, the left arm. Okay, not too bad through here in terms of, we see the fingertips beginning to tip down and angle down. And as she moves through that stroke there, the elbow starts to sort of come back a little bit early through here. Let's have a look at the other side. Okay, on this side here, as she moves through, starting to tip the fingertips down pretty well. You can just see there, the arm probably goes a little bit deep and a bit straight. So that position there, arm's just a little bit deep. We'd probably want to be out a bit wider with that arm, at least on that breathing stroke. Let's just we'll bring it forward to this shot here. All right, so looking at this right arm, see where she's sitting there. We want to be up that little bit higher, starting the catch somewhere around here. And then what we want to see through there, the fingertips slowly moving, starting to tip down. Notice the angle of the arm here. It's not a bad position by any means, but what we'd want to work on is just improving that slightly. So let's say if you're an Olympic swimmer, you're going to be somewhere up here. Now, most people don't have the strength or the mobility to be able to hold that position at least straight away. That takes a long time to develop. But over time, what we want to work towards is keeping this elbow a little higher or a little more forwards as the fingertips begin to tip down. The reason for that is at the moment you can see that forearm and hand pressing back in about that direction. Whereas with the red line, you can see where that is. That's going to press you forwards if you're pressing back. So that's why I want to, over time, improve this catch position. The other thing you'll see here at the back is this last part of the stroke, because she's going from here, we want to start to get the elbow out a little bit earlier. So you see where the elbow is there? I want that to be starting to come out of the water now, and the last part of the stroke to be pressing back past the hip. See at the moment. All right, so if we just trace this line there, see how it's just coming out slightly early and sort of pressing up. So it's kind of coming out in this direction a bit more. And so if we want to go forwards, we've really got to be pressing back in that direction a bit more as you go past the hip. It doesn't mean you need to put a huge emphasis or a lot of force out the back. Sometimes that'll actually throw your balance out. But what we want to try and do with that is make sure that we're not pressing up or slipping out early. And it's all about getting this elbow sort of out of the water now, and then the forearm and the hand pressing back that way. Let's have a look at a video of a swimmer doing that. So you can see this video on the right. This is professional triathlete Annabelle Luxford. What we're looking at here at the back is how she exits the stroke. So let's compare it to this shot here. All right, now it's not going to be the best angle. Oh, here we go. All right, so they're in similar phases of the stroke right there. All right, now with Annabelle, you can see if we trace this line of the forearm and the hand, now she's starting to really press back there. Finishes off just past the hip, and that last little bit, still pressing back there. So that overall exit is pressing her forwards, and along with that extra press back, she's getting that bit more reach out in front. So those two things work together. Whereas at the moment, just on this left side here, all right, just on this left side, you can see as we trace this line, just starting to come out a bit early. Yeah, you can see it. So you can see that difference in where it comes out. And so that, and we can see here out the front that not quite getting as much reach and extension as Annabelle is there. So they're sort of two things I'd look to focus on is number one, getting that little bit more reach and extension out the front, like you can see Annabelle doing here on the side. You can see that starting catch position that she's in. All right, fingers just below the wrist just below the elbow. Then as she moves through, now you don't necessarily need a really sort of high elbow position. You don't need this exaggerated position to be a fast swimmer, but you do need the forearm and the hand to start pressing back on the water. So you can see with Annabelle, she's got that a bit of a sort of bent wrist there. Ideally, we want to try and keep that straight, but you can see she still holds great water through there. All right, forearm and the hand here. So she's still getting really good setup out in front. And I mean, she's one of the fastest swimmers in triathlon. And so you can see that there, even without that really high elbow position, you can still swim very well. So what we want to do here is get that bit more reach, probably keep that elbow forward a bit more, but just over time improve that catch position, and particularly finishing out the back of the stroke just a bit more. Now, if we cut to the side view, if we cut to the front view, you'll notice here that the hand is finishing just a bit wide of the hip. So she swims in here. Oh, there's a couple of things, but one of the things is, see where this finishes? The hand is quite a bit of a distance away from the hip there. And you'll actually find that if you finish too wide of the hip, so with that much sort of gap, if you finish too wide, you're going to lose a bit of power at the back, and that's a bit of a cause of not getting that full press back. Same on this side as we come in. Just see here, all right? where the hand is. We want that finishing a bit closer to the hip for extra power and to help with that sort of extra press back that we looked at. Now the other thing, partly related to what we looked at earlier, you can see here on the entry with the right hand as it comes in, right, enters in line with the shoulder, which is great. The hand's turned off a bit to the side. I mean, thumb first. I don't mind entering thumb first as long as it's not too much of a turn with the hand. But you can just see here that first part of the stroke, there's a bit of a sweep out, or that hand sort of pressing out in that direction. So I'd like to enter in line with the shoulder and extend straight forwards there. So see how it just drifts out a little bit wide. We want to have the arm, the hand directly in line with the shoulder in this part of the stroke still. And then as you move through, all right, that position there. So as she's about to pull through past the shoulder, we like to measure that angle. You'll notice with all elite swimmers, it's somewhere between 100 and 120 degrees. That arm's at 148 degrees. And all that means is the arm's a bit straight. And if you actually notice, the hand is wider than the elbow in this part of the stroke. And in that position, it makes it a lot harder to engage the lats. All right, so when the hand is wider than that elbow, very difficult to engage the lats and essentially be as strong as you could in that part of the stroke. We want to try and keep the hand either below the elbow or on the inside there. And if you do that, that's going to create that ideal angle of 100 to 120. You can see here, all right, 114 degrees. So if we can bring that hand in, it's going to give it extra power, and it's also going to mean her lats will be able to be used a lot better there. You'll notice on this breathing stroke as well, so she's taking the breath, similar thing just in terms of the arm angle. All right, so there, 154. And again, hand is wider than the elbow. Where we want to try and get to would be somewhere around here in that position. You can actually see on the non-breathing stroke with this left arm, it gets to a pretty and quite a good position here. So we're at the right angle. So 115 degrees on the non-breathing stroke on the left side. And she's actually moving good, pretty good water. If you will look from the side, holding good water through there. May want to come underneath a bit more, so possibly not out quite as wide. Somewhere like that might be a bit stronger. So coming under the body a bit more could help. But you can just see here on this left side, the hand drifts out. All right, hand drifts out a bit wide. And same there. So just to recap, those main couple of points, all related to what's happening under the water, because the rotation looks good, the body position is good. So in terms of the technical focus, it's a lot to do with what the arms are doing. So let's just have a look from the start. So the first thing we looked at is on the entry. All right, was entering well. In this position here, when she's reaching and extending forwards, a little bit more reach out in front in order to get the fingertips, the wrist below the elbow. Oops, forget those angles. So to start the catch. Then as we move through the catch, right, ideally we want to try and keep this elbow a little more forward while the fingertips, the wrist tip down to get a slightly better angle. Then same on this side, we just want to start this catch up here. Fingertips below wrist, wrist below elbow. And then over time, just go from this position here to somewhere a little bit more like that. That's going to make a big difference. Then we also looked at the exit of the stroke. So instead of coming up towards the hip there, coming up in that direction, we want to be able to press back a bit more. So the way to do that was to get the hand a little bit closer to the hip on the exit in order to help press back instead of coming up. Same on both sides. That's going to help a lot more with that reach and extension. Then looking from the front, we saw that in the reach phase, so as she's going through this part of the stroke, we want to try and keep or stop the hand from drifting out wide, because that hand out wide, it creates this extra drag. It's going to hit her there. So we want to keep the hand directly in line with the shoulder as you reach and extend forward. And then as you pull through, keep that hand on the inside of the elbow once you get to that part of the stroke. So keeping it under the body slightly more. That's going to give you a lot more power than if the hand sweeps out wide. And then as we come in, just finishing a bit closer to the hip. All right, so we want the hand somewhere around here. and there on the other side there. So then the question is, how do you go about making those changes? Well, what I'm going to do is send Susan the drill sequence or the progression that I'd get swimmers to go through. And this is the progression that we've got inside the Effortless Swimming membership that looks at working on and adjusting each of those things that we looked at. And there's a couple of drills in that sequence that I find are really, really useful, especially for improving the catch and for the alignment or the direction of the pull through. And some of these drills, so this one called catch kick that I really like, it's a drill that almost no one's done before. Only a few people have done it that I come across. So it's not one that many people do often do as part of their training, but I find it so useful for really improving this part of the stroke and getting people to that 100 to 120 degrees. And then I'd give her this drill sequence, get her to do it in each warm-up that she does, and then just go about a normal swim session, because there's no point doing 4 sessions a week of all drills. It's about, all right, make some adjustments to your stroke and your warm-up, then look to maintain those changes or those things you're looking to work on within a normal swim session. And it's about repeating that over time and just focusing on the right things every time you jump in the water. So that's often what I'd give people within the Effortless Swimming membership. All right, thanks for watching. See you next time.